Am I still sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We do.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to get started in just a minute. And we'll do all the fun things, introductions, and then dig into the application, the portal, everything you need here today. Okay, so it looks like we've got a few people who have joined us, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and start us off with a few housekeeping items, but just to ensure that you are where you think you are, we are today covering the BEAD Round 2 Project Application Guidance webinar today, and this webinar is specific to tribal nations and communities in Arizona. So for those who are joining us in the webinar as guests, we would love to see an introduction in the chat, if you wouldn't mind, just your name and the organization you're representing. And when I say organization, the applicant that you are representing. That is helpful to us to understand who's in our audience today. So you should be able to put that into the chat. And this will be the only time that you use the chat really today. However, I will be flexible, but I am doing this solo. So I am running the slideshow and handling questions and moderating and all of that. So if you can keep questions to just the Q&A, that is really helpful to me. I'll put my eyes everywhere, but I might need a reminder if I miss something. And I'll go ahead and get started with some introductions. But the Q&A, again, is where you'll put all of your questions, and you can upvote other questions. You can see all the questions that are there. But again, thanks for joining us. If you are able to, please put your name and applicant organization into the chat. Thanks to Keely and Okasana who did that. My name is Kelly Crucy. I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at the Arizona Commerce Authority in the State Broadband Office. And we are here to go over the application guidance. And I am joined with Okasana Beatty. She'll wave. She's our tribal liaison. And then we also have Keely Knight. She is here from Ready to do our portal demonstration. And I think that's it as far as us as staff here today. I can see everyone plugging their names and info into the chat. Thank you for that. We appreciate you making the time to be here. And again, we're going to cover all things application. So this is the best place to ask those questions. But I will also put into the chat, if you have questions outside of this webinar, broadband at azcommerce.com is the best way to reach us. Send those emails to us there. Everyone in the office has eyes on that, and we can respond to those when they get directed there. But questions will come up as you're filling out these applications for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Quick overview of what we'll do today. We'll take a look at BEAD and the timeline, talk about where we are now, what's coming up. And then Keely will give us the portal demonstration, and then we'll dig into the application and get into the Q&A as well. All right, so quick overview of BEAD. I know that everyone here is familiar with BEAD. We all know that Arizona was allocated and awarded $993.1 million. And that is money that is going to, our ultimate goal is that universal connection for, all the unserved and underserved BSLs or households in the state. So the deployment itself, we're aiming to provide high-speed internet access to those unserved, underserved, and the CAIs, so those community anchor institutions. They are a part of this as well. And we know that the unserved locations are either at 25 by 3, and the underserved have speeds under 100 by 20. And then the CAIs, just for clarification, include state and local government facilities as well as community support organizations, so libraries, hospitals, schools. And then on the right-hand side of your slide, you've got the eligible project area and the criteria to that. So every applicant should consider serving every eligible unserved and underserved BSL within a project area. That's the criteria that needs to be met, and then the applications covering all the eligible BSLs and serving the maximum number of CAIs, including those CAIs, score higher. And then also partnerships are encouraged. So if you are a tribal community or nation and you are partnering with someone else, maybe an ISP or an organization, there needs to be one lead subgrantee on that application. So the selection process overview here, this is kind of where we have been and where we're going. So you'll see down there at the bottom, we've got the market sounding. That was last September, October, and November of 2024. And that was when tribes, counties, ISPs had an opportunity to provide input on the project areas, the draft project areas. And then in November of last year, we opened the pre-registration because the first round of applications started on January 6th. And about 2 months prior to that is when the pre-registration started. And that's where every eligible applicant starts. So if someone is considering submitting an application for BEAD in Arizona, that is a mandatory step, is completing that pre-registration. And right now we're in between round one and round two. So we had round one, and that ended on March 7th, and we are still finalizing those negotiations and tentative awards at this point in time. And round two will open June 3rd, but pre-registration has remained open that entire time. So again, that pre-registration is a mandatory step in order to access the application portal. And without completing that and having that approval with your pre-registration, you will not be able to access the application in the portal. So you'll be able to get into the portal, but you won't be able to see that application. And then after round two is a 30-day window this time. So it's a quick window. We really are emphasizing complete that pre-registration, complete all those RFCs before June 3rd so that you can get that approval. And then when that window opens June 3rd, you have that full 30-day window to just focus on the application. And our timeline here. So I covered most of this already. We've gone through the pre-registration. We started in November. It still remains open now. Pre-registration itself actually closes on June 30th. But again, round two opens June 3rd. We are recommending and emphasizing to everyone, get that pre-registration done as soon as possible in advance of June 3rd, so you have that full 30-day window. There is an overlap of pre-registration and the application window, but we are emphasizing and recommending to get that done as soon as possible, so that full 30-day window is just for you to be able to focus on that application. So round two launches on June 3rd. It will close July 3rd. And then after that, we will go into review and negotiations. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Keely. I will stop sharing so she can share her screen and do the portal demonstration. So you might have to request, Keely. Let me know if you have problems.
Yeah, I think I got it here. Good morning, everyone. I think I'm sharing. Is that correct?
Yes, we see a purple header at the top, but we see the homepage of the portal.
Okay, wonderful, great. Yeah, so as Kelly said, this is the once you log into your portal, uh, the home page is a great place to begin as kind of a home base or a hub. As Kelly was mentioning, if you have not yet completed your pre registration, that can be found here underneath the Apply for BEAD tab and just the pre registration button here. If you click this, it will take you to all of the forms that you need to complete. However, today's demo is about the application. So I will go back to the home screen here. As you can see, this test account has been qualified for pre-registration. You can see the green qualified tag there. And I can always view my pre-registration at any time. When you're ready to begin an application, however, you'll come down to this BEAD applications section and click view. And this will take you to the application screen. And this is where you'll have all of your applications that you begin. So to start a new application, you'll click the Start New Application button, give your application a descriptive name. And click Create New Application. Okay, so the first portion of the application here will be to select your project, select your project areas. So what you'll be able to do here is use the map to make a selection of one project area. You'll notice as you click these different project areas here, you will get a summary on the left here. It will tell you what area you've selected, how many underserved, unserved, and CAIs are in that project area. Each application will allow you to select one single application, or I'm sorry, one single project area. And there's two ways you can select project areas. You can do so as I demonstrated here by clicking, or if you know the name of the project area you would like to choose, you can actually select it from this list here. And you'll notice that if we select one from the list, it will zoom us over there into the map, and then you can select it by clicking. Am I still sharing? Is it okay? Okay. So after, as I mentioned, after you select your project area, you'll see a summary here. If any issues are detected with your application, your project area selections, they'll be flagged here. And what my problem is that I have too many selected right now. Since you can only select one, it will flag you if you select more than one. So I've now unselected that one, and we'll go back here so I can see the correct. So once you're good with your project area, you can click Review Selection, and it will bring up this review portion here. The next step is to select your community anchor institutions. Okay, once it loads, it will bring up all the community anchor institutions within your project area. And you can see here, if I zoom in, that each of those community anchor institutions are actually highlighted in green here. Arizona does permit you to remove selective removal of CAIs. So to remove any CAIs you'd like to get rid of, you can simply click on those and it will unhighlight it in green and also remove it from the list here. You can also remove them by clicking this, by clicking this X here on the side. Once you're satisfied with your CAIs, you can click Save Selection. And this brings you to just like a full overview of your locations. Once you're ready to move forward here, you can click Next. And this will bring you to the application form. All of the required fields in this application form are clearly marked with this small red star. So once you have completed a section, all the required fields in a section, you will actually receive a little green check mark on that section. So the goal here is to move through all of the subsections on the left of each of these bigger sections and complete your application that way. So as you do that, you can just continue to move through the application, fill out the required fields, etc. You'll notice as you complete each of these larger sections, you will also receive green check marks across the top here. And then this little 3-dot kebab here will give you an overview into all the sections that you need to complete. You do not need to complete these in a linear fashion. You can hop around and complete different sections here. So if you want to work on project financials first, you can definitely do that. I'm looking for a specific type of question so I can demonstrate how to upload a document. So let me find one of those for you. you can see I'm doing just, here we go. Okay, so there are some questions where you will be required to upload documents. So the way you can do that is pretty typical. You can drag and drop into this rectangle here, or you can select a file from your computer. Um, so once I've uploaded a document, it will show underneath here. You do have the option to re-download the document that you upload. Am I frozen? It looks like my video is frozen, but am I still sharing?
You're still sharing. Can you move your mouse?
Yep.
Yes. Nope, you
Okay.
are not frozen.
Okay. You can also delete the document that you've uploaded and re-upload a different document if you like. So I just wanted to point out that one type of upload question there. Let's see. I'm just checking my notes here. Okay. So as I mentioned before, what you're looking for is green check marks along all of these sections. Once you have completed everything, you'll be moving to the review and submit portion of the application. Um, and here it will give you a summary of everything that you have added to the application. So it gives you an opportunity to review that. You can also download copies of your application and as well as a CSV file of your locations for your records. You can come back into your application at any time and download uh, PDF copies or this location list at any time. It doesn't go away once you've submitted your application. So as we said, once you have a green check mark in all of these sections, this submit application button will turn very obviously blue and you'll be able to submit your application at that time. It will remain gray if you have any portions of the application that are not thoroughly completed. But as we stated, it's pretty easy to go back into a section and see if you're missing any green check marks within. So just be aware of that. I think that mostly concludes the demonstration that I wanted to give. So we can open up this time for any questions anyone may have. And then if there's anything that I cannot answer, we'll definitely get it into an FAQ after this webinar.
Thanks, Keely. I do have one question.
Yeah.
For anybody on the call who is perhaps new to the portal. So as you are navigating throughout, if my understanding is if you click any button, it will automatically like auto save before you leave. So if you click, next or back, or even one of the different numbers on the top, it automatically saves, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, great
Okay,
point, Kelly. We do also have this save application button here for comfort, but you're right. Anytime you make any action within the sections or by clicking next or back, it does auto save. So you can hop around within the application. If you need to gather more information, you can definitely return at any time and pick up exactly where you left off.
great.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then I will say I don't see any questions in the Q&A or in the chat, but if there are questions as you're working through your application and it's related to the portal, you can reach us with those questions with two different emails. I put into the chat, there is a portal specific email that
Okay.
you can use. It's the azhelpdesk@ready.net. But I keep telling everybody, if you're working on this in the middle of the night and you can't remember email addresses, that's fine. If you send it to broadband@azcommerce.com, we will get it to the right place. So either email will work. We will forward to the portal so that they can assist in case you're having any issues in the portal specifically.
That is correct. Any technical assistance, you can reach out at either one of those email addresses and we will help as quickly as possible.
Okay, well, I will start moving on. Keely, thank you for the demo.
Great. Thank you. I think I freed you up.
You did. I'm just trying to find the right screen to share. Okay, so you should be seeing the project application portal demo. Is that correct? Awesome. Thank you, Okasana. I see your head nodding. All right, so thank you for that. We'll move on. Um, and now we'll start looking into the project application. So again, as a reminder, want to emphasize submitting that pre-registration is incredibly important. You can't access that application until your pre-registration is submitted and approved. And there are some applicants from round one or who started their pre-registration before round one, but did not receive, they received conditional approval. And so we have reached out starting in January and February in March, reached out to those individuals and even recently, just to make sure that you know that approval was conditional. There are still some outstanding items that have to be completed. So we have been reaching out to any of those applicants and to make sure that if you want to apply for round two, that you complete that. So be sure to be checking your email. We had some communication last week, the week before, where there are some items that need to be completed in those pre-registrations for some of the applicants for round two in order to be approved for accessing the application. For those who submitted an application in round one and did your pre-registration, you actually submitted an application in round one, you're submitting another in round two, you do not redo the pre-registration process. Okay, so with the project application, reminder that each project area is its own project application. So those are separate applications and they are individual project applications and they're scored independently. Um, and applications are based in the criteria. They're assessed based on the criteria that are outlined in the NOFO and in the Commerce Authority's initial proposal, volume 2. I did provide links in the chat where you can go to the subgrantee application page, and it has those documents in there for your reference. As far as the technology type, for each project area, there are a few options. You have Part A or Part B for your application. Part A, there's two segments to that. There's Part A1, which is 100% fiber, and that includes the CAIs. So that's covering 100% of the BSLs in that project area. And then there's Part A2, which is 100% fiber. It includes the CAIs, but it excludes the outliers. And the outliers, for reference, there's a bullet point down there at the bottom. The outliers are locations for end-to-end fiber where the solution is 1.5 times the average cost to serve the rest of the BSLs in that project area. So again, Part A, A1, includes CAIs and all the BSLs. Part A2 includes the BSLs, the CAIs, but excludes those outliers. And then Part B is fiber. And that is fiber and the mixed technologies. So alternative technologies, fiber, licensed fixed wireless, unlicensed fixed wireless, satellite. And again, I haven't mentioned yet, but we do have that application guidance, which will be updated by the end of today, but we still have round one's application guidance where all of these details are outlined. And then applicants are required to provide the project cost information per each of the proposed technology type. And again, at the bottom there, you've got your outlier reminder of what that outlier is. All right, in the project application, this is an overview of the entire application. And that application has 18 sections. So broken into 18 sections, and there are specific information that you will be filling in under each section. So for instance, up at the top, you've got your project area level. For all of the sections, you have to provide the individual project area specific information separately under each application. So if you are submitting more than one project area application, you need to provide these details for each application. And then for sections 4, 10, 12, and 15, you're required to provide the requested information for each proposed technology type per project area. And then you can see here the application sections. You've got your application information all the way through section 18. So there are 18 separate sections. And as you were seeing the portal, you can click through the top of the portal to get to those sections. And then note that section 17, that cybersecurity compliance and that supply chain risk management compliance, that is a part of pre-registration, and you may have provided those details already. If not provided in pre-registration, then you will provide it here. Again, as I'm going through, I'll take a brief moment before I go to the next slide to check for any questions. And I don't see any yet, but you can plug them into the Q&A, plug them into the chat. I realize some of you might be on the phone. Do something to get my attention so I can answer your questions. Okay, so here we'll dig into the specific sections of the application, and you'll see at the top of the screen underneath where it says 1.1 applicant information and 1.2 project executive summary, there's a link where it says application questionnaire and a link where it says application guide. So we have referenced the specific sections of the questionnaire and the specific sections of the guide where you can find more detailed information about these sections. This deck will be added to our website today, as well as the updated guide and the questionnaire. What's on the website right now is from round one. There are small changes to round two, and we're going through those changes in this deck today. But again, these things will be available on our website by the end of today, possibly after business hours. All right, so number one, for applicant information. Here you're going to provide details about your entity, your organization. So from your legal name and address to contact details. And we're also looking and collecting information here for details on any consortiums or partnership entities, and also contractor and subcontractor information. So we're looking in that case to collect examples of their past performance in related to similar projects. So if they have worked on broadband projects before, that's the type of information that's needed. And then the executive summary. Here we're asking applicants to provide a high-level summary of the project area. So you're going to include the BEAD eligible locations that will be served, the proposed technology, including that percentage breakdown, the delivery approach and the timeline, and the budget summary and the match request. I do see a question in the chat, and this is from Sherry. If a section was completed in pre-registration, will that section generate on the application? I'm going to ask Iris if she knows if that has been decided yet or determined.
Yes, so general information like applicant information, um, the inf on the left-hand side of the slide that you're seeing, if those information is already provided in your pre-registration, then yes, it will be auto updated for you when you fill out your application.
Thank you. All right, and then in the last few bullet points of the project executive summary, we've got we're encouraging applicants to provide details for any or all of the technology solutions. So whether you're part A, A1, A2, or B, we're looking for details there, and that helps the Arizona Commerce Authority to evaluate and prioritize the project applications. Okay, section 1.3, project areas. So again, this information, you only have access to this application once that pre-registration is complete. So if you're in there right now and your pre-registration is not complete, you won't see this information. It's got to be complete and approved in order to see all of this information. All right, so with the project areas, the final project areas were posted back in December. And then we've gone through round one of applications. And once this opens up on June 3rd is when you'll be able to see what areas are open for bid after round one. So anything that is remaining after round one will be what you will see in the portal here. Reminder that you'll need to submit a separate application for each project area. And in the portal, when you click on a project area, it will show you that cost estimation. So on the right side of the screen, you see a screenshot of the portal with a project area that's highlighted, and the numbers will come up on the right where it will give you that cost estimation. So again, this is information you can only see after your pre-registration has been approved. And you'll be able to see that subsidy available and the reference price for each of those areas. And then based on that project area that's selected, you'll also be able to see the total number of BSLs included in that project area, including the unserved and the underserved, as well as the total number of CAIs. And then note that from the list of eligible locations, you have to provide the number of CAIs proposed to be served in the project area. So when you're in the portal, there will be a drop-down menu, and you can go through and select the project areas, and then from there, you will provide the number of CAIs that you are proposing to serve in that area. All right, moving on to project infrastructure. So again, at the top, you've got the specific sections of the questionnaire and the guide. That's really helpful. I definitely recommend, and we as an agency recommend, reading through that application guide before you start the pre-registration or the application process. It helps outline all the specifics and the details and gives you a better understanding of what to expect. So if there are any questions, you're able to see them perhaps there. And I think we got a question. All right, so a question from Lombardo. Thank you. Can you confirm which fabric version are the BSLs based on? And that is version 4. I'll just type that in here. Thank you for the question. Okay, so with project infrastructure, here you'll provide details as a part of the workbook in the portal. So there is a financial workbook that's part A1, A2, and B that's included in that workbook. And that's where you're going to provide the details. And that's an Excel sheet. It's a template that you will use throughout the application. So you will first we'll start with the project type, and we've got the priority projects and the non-priority. So the priority projects provide services with end-to-end fiber to reach all of the end users. And the non-priority projects are the other last mile deployment projects that provide a minimum of 100 by 20 Mbps. ACA is definitely has a priority and emphasizes the preference toward end-to-end fiber. But also in round 2, we're definitely encouraging applicants to provide any or all of the technologies to help reach solutions and ensure that 100% connectivity, which is our goal as a state. All right, just managing the chat. Keep the questions coming if you have them. And so in section 1.4.2, the infrastructure and technology, you're going to provide the total numbers of conduit, total numbers of buried fiber, and these are estimated numbers of buried coaxial, aerial fiber, and the number of proposed towers. And then in proposing middle mile infrastructure, you'll provide details including buried fiber and aerial fiber as well. And then section 1.4.3, technology and performance. Here with the priority projects, you're providing the technology using the FCC code and the split ratio for deployment. If the same split ratio is not used across deployment, you'll need to provide the reasons for that in your application. And then in the non-priority, you'll provide the technology being used using that FCC code as well, and also the max download and upload speeds per sector, the number of subscribers, and if you're providing wireless, you'll need the spectrum bands as well. All right, section 1.5 and 1.6, open access network and the network design. That open access, you'll need to confirm if the organization intends to offer open access network. And then if yes, you'll provide a narrative about the policy for that open access. And then there's more details and requirements for this. Again, use this link at the top for the questionnaire, and you can see which sections where you can see the specific details for each of these. For the network design, the design needs to show that you are delivering broadband service that meets or exceeds the performance requirements for all the locations in your project area. And the design has to be certified by a PE. So a professional engineer needs to certify your application and your design, and that needs to be done during the application process. If your PE is not licensed in Arizona, you can indicate that you, in your application, that you will use the BEAD waiver for the PE certification. And then outliers, again, those outliers are defined as locations that cost 1.5 times more than the rest of the BSLs in the selected project area. And if there are outliers in your identified project area, you'll need to identify those locations as outliers in the project financial workbook for Part A2 if the outliers are excluded from the application, and or in Part B. So if either are planned to be excluded, the CAIs or the outliers are excluded from the application, and then also propose the technology type to serve those outliers under Part B as well. All right, scalability and resiliency. So under this first box here, the network scalability and resiliency, there are 3 sections here. Applicants are required to provide details regarding scalability and resilience of the network for each of the project areas. And you'll explain how the proposed network design guarantees the scalability to accommodate the connectivity needs of the project area over the network's entire lifespan. And then you'll outline the organization's strategy for retrofitting and or hardening the current broadband infrastructure to resist potential damage and degradation over time. And then network outages. So applicants have to confirm that appropriate measures will be taken to ensure that outages do not exceed, on average, 48 hours over any year period, except in the case of force majeure or natural disasters. Also, applicants have to describe the network design and the measures that are being taken to address the natural disasters or force majeure that are stated above. And then climate assessment. This speaks to the plan on how your organization will handle these instances, and also how your organization plans to mitigate these types of situations when they arise. All right, I can keep my eye on that Q&A and the chat. If questions come up, please do plug them in or get my attention so I can make sure you're getting your questions answered. Okay, now we're on to NEPA and NHPA here. So all of this is in terms of compliance for both NEPA and NHPA, and then also addressing that make ready and the timeline. So for NEPA and NHPA, you'll need to provide plans on high-level details on how the site and the surrounding area and any natural or man-made geographical, physical, or other factors may pose a risk to the development of the project. So you need to identify those, provide that high-level description, and also provide detailed plans on how the project will be implemented, outlining the approach that will allow you to remain compliant with SHPA, NEPA, and NHPA. And then additionally, and lastly, applicants have to recommend feasible plans to minimize adverse environmental and historical preservation impacts. As far as make ready, applicants have to describe the make ready activities that the organization has already completed or has planned for the proposed project. So what you've done already and what the plan is moving forward. And the timeline. We're asking applicants to provide an overview of the timeline where you're going to highlight the key milestones and how much time is needed from the execution of the grant when the grant is signed to the delivery of service to the very last eligible BSL for all project area types, A1, A2, and B. And then applicants will provide a detailed project schedule with key implementation phases for A1, A2, and B, And then we're asking to confirm that if successful, confirm that you will deploy the planned broadband network and begin providing those services to customers that desire the service no later than 4 years after the date when the subgrantee receives the subgrant from the Commerce Authority. All right, section 1.11, barrier and permitting requirements. So here we've got 4 sections in this first top box. And applicants need to identify any known critical crossings and permits related to the project for each project area. And that can include these 4 bullet points here. So you've got your state of Arizona managed lands, the federal government managed lands, tribal nations, and local government managed lands. So there's 4 different types that need to be addressed. And you'll provide a description of the crossings and permits related to the projects in those areas that are identified. Additionally, you'll provide any steps or plans that you have taken and that you plan to take for these crossings and permits. And then barrier identification, you'll need to identify any obstacles or challenges or risks associated with the project, including these 3 bullet points, not limited to those, but that would include the detailed description of any concerns or issues related to those crossings or permits for the project, a narrative of any supply chain issues and the plan to address that, and the narrative on any workforce related issues that could potentially delay the project and the plan to handle that as well. All right, project financials. So this is in the pre-registration. We've talked about this in the pre-reg webinars as well. And here's when these will need to be provided. So first you've got the letter of credit, and these are per the BEAD NOFO. Again, the NOFO is on our website. It's a quick Google to find that as well. So all applicants have to provide that letter of credit prior to signing the subgrantee agreement. And if you are not opting for a letter of credit, you've got 3 other choices. You could do a letter of credit from a credit union. So your typical letter of credit would be from a bank, but here where it says number 1, subgrantee may obtain letter of credit from a credit union. That's another option. And that letter of credit would be for no less than 25% of that subaward amount. You also could do a performance bond instead of a letter of credit. And the performance bond, be sure to note that that's for 100% of that subaward amount, whereas the letter of credit is for 25%. So the performance bond comes from a surety, and that is for 100% of that subaward amount. And then there's also that last one, subgrantee, you can obtain a letter of credit or a performance bond for just 10% of that subaward amount prior to signing the agreement. If you choose that option, you have to submit either a commitment letter from a bank for that 10% letter of credit or a surety letter from an acceptable surety company for 10% of that performance bond. All right, on the right-hand side in the orange, project match and match funding details. This is in the workbook only. So again, you'll be using workbook for the financials in the portal, and that includes part A1, A2, and B. And you'll provide a summary of the project cost and the match details. So here we've got the categories and the total. So it's either total dollar amount or total percentage. So you've got your project cost, the grant amount you're requesting, the match amount that you are able to provide, and then the match percentage. And down here, you'll see there's a matching waiver request. This can happen for a couple of reasons. So if you are intending to apply for a match waiver, you have to describe the special circumstances underlying the reason for not providing that 25%, and then provide any documents and efforts made to obtain match funding commitments. So in round 2, as we're heading into round 2, the state wants to make it clear and known that we will do everything in our power to reach our goal of universal connection across the state. The goal is 100% connectivity for all of the unserved, underserved, and the CAIs, the BSLs within the state. And as we are working with tribal nations and communities, and we are filling out, going through this paperwork, and the tribes are looking at this, we are asking you to consider and pay attention to this slide where it says you can put in what works for you as a tribe. So tell us the story of the tribe and what it is that the plan is, and how you intend to get to that plan. So when you're filling out the match waiver request or that match amount, that's where we're looking to find out the details from you. What is it that the tribe is able to do in this circumstance? And then again, once all applications are submitted, that's when we can have specific conversations with tribal nations and communities about because there have been financial concerns. So the finances and the waivers or the match concerns can be addressed after that application is submitted. All right, more on project financials. So we're encouraging applicants to provide estimations for parts A1, A2, and B to evaluate and prioritize all the project applications. We're looking for the most technically feasible and cost-effective solution across the entire state. We are trying to use this $993.1 million as effectively as possible to ensure that universal coverage. All right, so here I'm actually going to start on the blue side. So you've got your project cost estimation, and this is in that financial workbook. Let me get to the right page here. All right, so that workbook, there is a template on our website, but this is also provided in the portal. And here you're required to provide the project cost details to serve every BSL in the project area and the total project cost with the technology solution that you are proposing. So part A is 100% fiber, and there we're looking for the average cost to serve per location using fiber for all the unserved and underserved BSLs, as well as the average cost to serve per location for CAIs, and then the total cost to serve that project area. For A2, the 100% fiber-based deployment that excludes those outliers. Here again, we're looking to see the average cost to serve per location, and the average cost to serve per location for CAIs, and the average cost to serve the outliers, again, using the fiber technology. And then part B is the fiber, the reliable, and the alternative technologies, and that's the average cost to serve per location, to serve proposed based on the cost to serve based on the reliable or alternative technology, and the average cost to serve the location, including high cost BSLs and outliers with that reliable or alternative technology. And then on the left side of that, the orange part, the project financial workbook, that's where applicants are required to populate and upload the details using that workbook. And some of those details are listed out here. So you've got your budget information, capital and operating costs, the investment schedule, cost estimation, matching funds, the pro forma financials, infrastructure, and that technology breakdown for each BSL and CAI in that project area. You'll also provide a narrative for your budget, explaining the assumptions used, and you'll provide any additional related analyses that establish the sustainability of the proposed project. All right, I see a thing in the chat. Thank you, Marty. I think he had to hop off early, but he'll contact us if he's got any questions. Thank you. Again, you can plug those questions into the Q&A, even into the chat. We know this is a lot of detailed information and it can get complex, so we want to make sure that we can help break it down and address any of those questions. All right, moving on to workforce. All right, so here we're collecting information. We've got these different multicolored boxes here on the left that describe the information that we're collecting. So here, everything from workforce development, job quality, fair labor and employment laws, workforce arrangement, appropriately compensated workforce, project labor agreements. your hiring provisions, and unionized neutrality. So here we're looking to collect information, sometimes a narrative, demonstrating your commitment and your plans to these areas. And again, we're looking for applicants to confirm different types of, commitments to different labor laws, workforce trainings, everything here. So there's a bunch of information listed here. Again, you can find that in the guidance and in the questionnaire. And then moving on, there are more. So the labor peace agreements, the skilled workforce, credentialed workforce, misclassification of workers, unionized workforce, the workforce plan, and the project continuity plan. So here, this is a combination of narratives where you're providing us details, and then also providing a breakdown of roles. So you're going through each of these sections and providing information as it pertains to that specific topic. Local support and community engagement. So this again is outlined in the BEAD NOFO and our initial proposal volume 2. And all applicants must engage in consulting and working with the local units and the community that they are serving. So you've got your local units of government and tribal nations that are affected and impacted by and essentially intersect with the proposed project area. And if you have met with those local units, we're asking you to indicate if those organizations have received, or if you've received letters of support from those tribal nations or local governments. Letters of support included in your application, I believe, provide extra points and help to score a little bit higher. I believe it's an additional 10 points, and I'm hoping if that's wrong, Divya will correct me. I don't want to give out erroneous information. So applicants, you can provide letters of support received and provide confirmation that you have been working with the local or tribal government. And then also you'll provide your engagement plan. So at this point, we're looking for what it is that you are doing to work with the community to raise awareness, have meetings, develop outreach materials, community workshops. What is it that's being done in the community to help inform them of the service that's coming? All right, affordability. So here we've got on the left-hand side in the blue, the affordability for priority and non-priority projects. You'll be providing price details for subscribers with the applicable type of service for 5 years after the project completion. And those price details will include all taxes, fees, and charges imposed upon subscribers. You're also complying to provide a low-cost broadband service option. So you are confirming participation in a subsidy project, and applicants will provide details of the organization approach or the marketing plan to notify each address in the project area of that program. Again, specific details in that application guide in these specific sections listed here. All right, moving on to MBEs, WBEs, LSFs, the minority business enterprises, women's business enterprises, and the labor surplus firms inclusion. So here we're asking applicants to provide a narrative of each project area in the application, detailing the plan to address these requirements as they relate to the minority and women-owned businesses and the labor surplus area firms. So you are providing those details as it relates to the program development and implementation, the outreach and partnerships, the monitoring and evaluation, and that reporting and documentation. So you are providing those details and you're committing to adhering to these specific areas, and that you'll be following these steps for contracting with these firms. All right, cybersecurity and supply chain risk management compliance. This again was a part of pre-registration. So if it wasn't, your plans weren't provided in the pre-registration, you'll provide it in the application portion. And here we're looking for your most updated plan and version to show that you are staying compliant with the cybersecurity risk management and also the supply chain risk management. And then lastly, as far as the application, this is the last section of that application. There are 18 of them. And here you're certifying that you are in compliance with these certifications. And so we've listed them all out here. That's everything that we've already covered so far. And in the last section of that application is where you will do the checkbox to certify that you are in compliance and will remain in compliance. All right, I'll take a quick break. We have one more section to go through, and that's over scoring of applications. But I want to make sure I pause and get any questions that might have come up. Okay, there are none, so I'm going to move forward. All right, so we're going to take a look at scoring criteria for the priority and non-priority projects. Okay, so here we've got, we're using the NTIA aligned rubric to assess all BEAD projects. And so there's a maximum of 500 points available, and that's split between your primary and secondary categories. So if you look here, we'll start on the left, the priority broadband projects. Your primary scoring criteria, 75% of the 500 points is coming from the program outlay, the affordability, and the fair labor practices. Same thing in your non-priority projects, those same 3 bullet points, 75%. So 375 points out of those 500 is coming from that initial primary scoring criteria. And then your secondary for the priority broadband projects, that's a total of 125 points. And that includes the speed to deployment, the technology requirements, your local and tribal coordination, community anchor institutions, and the equitable workforce development and job quality. So you can see the point breakdown. And that secondary in the non-priority broadband projects is a little bit different. So there it is the speed to deployment, but also the speed of the network and the other capabilities. And then the local and tribal coordination, the CAIs, and the workforce development and job quality. All right, so the application scoring for priority projects, there are 3 elements that are going to be evaluated. You've got your grant to project cost for 150 points, and the applications are scored based on the ratio of the requested grant fund compared to the total project cost. So here you've got at the bottom, if you are providing a match of 25%, I think I'm doing that wrong. Let me find my notes. Me and math aren't the best of friends. All right, so here we're looking at less than or equal to 45% of the total project cost gets you 150 points. And then going all the way down to greater than 75% of that total project cost earns 0 points. Moving on to B, cost reasonableness. That scoring is based on the overall project cost against a benchmark estimate developed from the cost model as mentioned below. So here, this is with the reference benchmark. We do have a 1-pager on this on the website to explain the cost reasonableness and that reference benchmark. It's on that BEAD Subgrantee application website. There's a 1-pager on that page in the supporting documents section. And then the resiliency. So what I want to point out between A and B is that those are they're not cumulative. So your points are based on which area you fall into. So for instance, in B, cost reasonableness, if you are falling under less than 10% of reference benchmark cost estimate, that's 50 points. Whereas in C, this is cumulative. So each one of these here, so in the scoring, each line in that table is those amount of points. So it's all or nothing as well. So for instance, in that first table, applicant demonstrates network or power source redundancies for a minimum of 50% of locations within the project areas. If that is happening, it's 10 points. Same for the next one. Applicant demonstrates scalability. If that is happening, 10 points. So that last table is cumulative, where the others are not. It's just one of those scoring points. Okay, and I'm going to do a quick time check here. We are at 11 o'clock. We've got 15 minutes left. I'm going to move through these. And again, if you've got those questions, definitely plug them into the chat or into the Q&A so we can get them answered. All right, so priority projects continued. Here we're looking at the affordability evaluation based on this criteria. So these are per month costs. So this will evaluate your commitment to providing 1 gig symmetrical service within the specified project areas at an affordable price. And this uses 80% of the FCC urban benchmark rate. And this scoring incentivizes the affordability. So here we're looking at monthly costs. So the scoring, less than $85.55 a month, 75 points, and so on. And then the fair labor practices evaluation, your points are awarded based on each aspect of the fair labor category. So here we've got certification from an officer or director level employee, evidencing the past compliance. And then for new entrants, you would have written confirmation that you are a new entrant without a record of past compliance, but looking toward future plans. And so there's the first section, and then that last section for both existing and new is that written confirmation disclosing any instances where the applicant or contractors or subcontractors have been found to violate laws. All right, continuing the application scoring on priority projects, fair labor practices. So here the evaluation is based on this criteria. So it's a long list here, but again, this is on fair labor practices that's been outlined in the pre-registration documentation and in that process, also in the guidance online, and it will be in the application. All right, application scoring, slide 4 of 6 for priority projects. So the speed to deployment is based on this criteria. Again, this is your speed to deployment. So we're assessing based on your pledged speed of deployment, and it's using a sliding scale. So 48 months would be 0 points, less than 24 points is 10 points, and then you've got everything in between. And then the technological requirements are based on the technology itself and the open access. So you've got 35 for the technology. You can see that outlined here, up to 10 gig or up to 1 gig. And so 10 gig would be 35, 1 gig would be 5, and then that open access. So these 10 points are awarded for open access wholesale opportunities on fair and unbiased terms. All right, slide 5 of 6 for the priority projects, the local and tribal coordination. These are the details and the points, how they're assigned. You've got that letterhead of the letter of support, also letters of support that include any financial commitments, letters of support, including recognition of coordination efforts in the community, and a coordination of engagement plan. So those are all the points that can be assigned for those. And the community anchor institutions. Here you've got the highest number of CAIs proposed to be served. You would get 20 points for that. And then we've got a fun equation here where the second highest, third highest, fourth highest, and no eligible CAIs, where you can determine how many points you would be getting for the amount of CAIs there. All right, so last slide for priority projects is on the equitable workforce development and the job quality evaluation. So here you will present a narrative to demonstrate your dedication to making the appropriate investments. You want to cultivate a skilled and diverse workforce to fulfill the job requirements. And here we outline the points and how those points are earned through the application. And then last but not least would be the application scoring for the non-priority projects. So the same 3 elements are evaluated here, but these are for non-priority. So this would be your fiber and alternative technology. You've got your grant to project cost, cost reasonableness, and the resiliency here. Same thing where the resiliency is cumulative. And then your affordability, these are the per month costs. And then the fair labor practices, demonstrating that you are following them. You've got the certification from an officer or director level employee, and then written confirmation disclosing any instances where the applicant has been found to be in violation. Slide 3 of 6, the fair labor practices. So again, same thing with the priority projects. We are asking the same in the non-priority projects to certify or provide a narrative here on, that you have demonstrated that you are providing this information. So each of these here shows how many points you are earning for each of these particular sections. All right, slide 4 is speed to deployment again. So less than 24 months, up to 10 points, 48 months would be 0, and everything in between. And then the speed of the network and other capabilities. So for the technology piece, you're looking at a max of 35 points, and that open access is 10 points. And then your local and tribal coordination, same as it is for the priority projects. So you've got your letter of support, any financial commitments, coordination efforts in the community, and that engagement plan. And then your CAIs. So this is the formula here to determine if you're serving the highest number, all the CAIs, that's 20 points. And then for anything less than the highest, then you've got your formula here to determine how many points you would earn. And then the equitable workforce development and the job quality. So here you'll provide that narrative demonstrating your dedication to making the appropriate investments to a skilled and diverse workforce. All right, so it is 11:07. We do have time for questions. That was the last slide. We've gone through the application itself and the scoring process itself. And I see there is a question. So I'm going to tag Divya in case I can't answer this. Can you verify something for me? If our application was deferred, do we need to reapply in round two, or does it roll over automatically? That's a good question. Do we only need to apply in round 2 if we are wanting to change our round 1 bids? Divya, are you able to help answer that?
Yes, so any Part B solution that was proposed in round 1 would be moved to round 2. And any A1, A2 applications, if you have applied in round 1, you will hear the decision from ACA after negotiations. But anything Part B will be moved to round 2.
Okay. And those decisions, I do know, if you haven't heard anything yet, so anyone who did apply in round 1, you will hear before round 2 opens. You will get an email notification of the status from us. And that might be on June 2nd, but you'll get it before things open on June 3rd. Thank you for that question. Okay, and one more reminder, we will update the website later this evening with this deck that we shared today and the updated guidance. And we'll get that onto the website. So what's on the website now on the subgrantee page is the documents from round 1, and we'll be sure to get those updated for round 2. And there's very subtle differences, but we'll get those updated today. I don't see any other questions coming in, so feel free to drop off. We'll hang out for another 30 seconds or so, but thank you for joining us. And this recording will be up, I think, by the end of the week as well. Thanks again, everyone.